It's crazy to think now how far technology has come since the turn of the millennium, and especially in the last 20 years. With the rise of smart appliances, for example, take a conventional microwave oven or fridge or even a washer or dryer. How many of those have you seen are like, oh, you can download an app for that, or this can connect to the internet? And it just kind of makes you wonder to how many of these different appliances can you find that have this kind of connectivity? When researching my career path, I found that 38% of all modern appliances have some smart app appliance capability that I could connect to the internet, which I thought was pretty crazy. But how does the one do it? Hi, my name is Enzo Flores, and among other reasons, this is why I'm going to share why programming is a lucrative career path. So I'm going to go over what computer programming is, give some examples, and how to begin, and most importantly, why it's never too late to start in case you are interested. Lastly, with all said and done, I'm going to gauge and reflect to see if computer programming is still a good career path considering the world today. But first, what is computer programming? According to an article published by Southern Hampshire University, programming is a process that professionals use to write codes that give the computer instructions. So basically, the programmer writes a set of instructions, feeds it into the computer, and the computer produces said instructions. And why this is so important is because you can do something as simple as just having the computer display text to creating modern infrastructure, making a game, phone applications, all that of the like. Take Andrew Smith, for example, writer and columnist for The Guardian. They started their fascination with computer programming with a Bitcoin article that they made a couple years ago, just kind of researching the person behind it, Satoshi Nakamoto, who happened to leave clues right before they disappeared from the public eye. And one of the clues that they left were some 100,000 lines of code, different instructions on how the infrastructure of Bitcoin functions, and how these other programmers just constantly go over it and read it as if it's like, Shakespeare, some sort of classic literature. And with that began his fascination. Smith started to kind of go into this big rabbit hole of programming, and then saw, wow, there's over 1,000 languages. Where should I start? And eventually stumbled to this nice website called freecodecamp.org, which then he began starting three programming languages, which is HTML, CSS, and C++. Pretty standard for intermediate to beginners. And the kick of it, he was 50 years old when he started this endeavor. Because before he was just mainly a writer, but then after this fascination, he just went like, oh wow, all the different things that you can do. But then kind of going off in a little different aspect of this, we want to go to software engineer Al Kalat, with specifically her grandmother Natalia, who started learning programming back in her early 20s when she used to live in the USSR. And how her fascination began is while she was looking for a job, her friend at the time hooked her up with a job at a museum, and said museum had some early classes on how to program. And back in those days, computers were like the size of a mid-sized room, and you weren't just typing things in the terminal. You'd be making these specific punch cards to feed into the computer, and then from there the computer will decrypt it and then perform the set actions that you wrote on it. Kind of come such a long way from today where everything you could just do, in a device no bigger than a phone. But with something like that, you'd also want to consider the day-to-day activities that a programmer might entail, that might kind of come across with. And something that one should be of note is that it's not a solo endeavor. Common skepticism is that when you program, it's just you're by yourself. But especially with large projects, there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of getting together with other programmers to see what needs to be done, how to implement certain features. Because doing one for everything, you're going to be doing it for years, and that's part of the reason to be efficient. And then so teamwork is very important when it comes to programming. And something that's I would say is even more important is to learn how to debug. And pretty much debugging is fixing the code, kind of reading over it and see like, oh, this piece is interfering with this piece to making it do what it has to do. So then that skill in it of itself requires a lot of problem solving skills, which is very crucial into this kind of market space. Consequentially, ever since COVID, many jobs have been lost. And this past April alone, over 23,000 jobs have been lost in the tech sector alone, which brings a lot of skepticism to this profession. But let me bring over Y2K. You know, back into 2000s, in the turn of the millennium, people were freaking out that, oh, 2000s, all of our technology is going to cease to be. So they hired a bunch of people to kind of like get ready in case that did happen. Spoiler alert, that didn't happen. And as the years went by, all of those extra people that got hired off, they got fired, laid off in droves, similar to what's happening today. But eventually, as time passed on, you know, people were able to regain their jobs. So with that said, even with the job market being how it is, I still think programming is a very lucrative job to seek just because of all the problem solving skills it requires. And even though we're in a bit of a bubble right now with the AI boom, I feel it's going to be similar to the Y2K situation where everything will level out as soon as people see that AI isn't the end all be all to programmers. So, in conclusion, computer programming isn't just about everything we interact with daily. From computers to appliances to whatever it is that you might see on your phone or using on your computer. And even with tech jobs being lost as the months go by due to AI, people will eventually start to see AI isn't the end all be all. They'll produce some wacky code that an actual programmer is going to have to go in there and then kind of go over, fix, re-implement, which is why they'll never be run out. And if you want to learn, it's never too late. There are not infinite resources on the web that one can look at. If you want to start changing the world, start with getting your computer to say hello world.